Hey everybody, remember this channel has been shadow banned by YouTube for quite some time. So if you want to keep up with my hijinks or you just don't want to miss out on a chance to call me a slur when I say something stupid, make sure you subscribe to my channel and go over to my channel page and turn on notifications. There's a link in the upper corner of this video where you can do just that. I am a grown-ass man. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Shooting Left of Center podcast, where I am joined by usually G-Webs and Neverenuffammo doesn't bother to show. But today, Neverenuffammo's here and G-Webs isn't. So it'll be a little different tonight. Say hello. So in case people
Yo, what's up?
involved.
Hello, fuckers.
Yeah. As everybody knows, he moved up north and got too big and popular for famous for all of us. He abandoned us.
Popular. No, I just have a job that takes up a lot of my time.
Yeah. See, that's what you get for having a job.
Yeah, I know it sucks, but I actually like my job. So,
but I'm lucky. I'm old and mostly retired. So I don't make much money anymore thanks to COVID. COVID wiped out a lot of my investments, but still, yay for COVID. Let's get started here. As we know, as all of you out there know, this is just a question and answer. You know, you all come up with ideas. We try to answer them. So we're going to get started on that. Let's see if I've got any questions coming in. First off, we got Salvador Verga. Let's see if he said anything. Nope, he didn't say anything. He just said TYMP. Then we got Rick Dot. Let's see what Rick Dot's got to say. Sent you an email, subject matter 226. I'll look and see if I can find it once we get to the emails. We're not to the emails yet. I'll look and see if I can find it. I don't actually see it, though. So I don't know when you sent. Yeah, I don't see anything since yesterday with the 226. So I don't know if you sent it to the right email address. Let's see here. Jeffrey Vaughn chimed in, paid his $2 tithe to Phil, and said, dropped off the antique rifle project to the gunsmith today. They guesstimated 6 months before it's done. Receive back will be original and extractor forwards will be most recent rebarreling. He's doing a project restoring an old gun, I guess, and he's having fun there. But it's not a question, though. He's just keeping us updated. Christopher Grove. Let's see. Did he ask a question here? Paying my tithe from Rome, Georgia tonight. He's just paying his tithe to Phil so he doesn't get Lyme disease. Ryan McFarland. Let's see what he had to say. You've said everyone should have a shotgun, saying it will get you out of bad situations where you live. You also said it is bad for home defense. Can you explain why it's bad for home defense? Well, you don't want to be maneuvering in tight spaces with a shotgun. You also probably don't want to fire a shotgun in your house if you don't have to, not only just for your hearing, but for property damage. But yeah, you're going to be going around corners and probably having to open closet doors and stuff like that. You don't want to be doing that with a long gun. That puts you in a bad situation. It's great to have backup from someone with a long gun if you're doing that, but if it's just you, that's going to put you at a risky position. Maybe Neverenuffammo disagrees. Do you like shotguns for home defense?
No, we've talked about this before. You and I agree. We're like probably the only two people on YouTube that agree that for home defense, a handgun is optimal. Everybody else says shotgun, AR, whatever it is. But I think that a good handgun is the best option for home defense, at least if you are going to be inside your home. I don't care how big your home is. If you're going to be indoors, inside your home, handgun is optimal. Now, sure, if you're protecting property, if you've got a ranch or a farm or just a lot of land and you're outdoors and you're doing something outside of your home, then sure, shotgun, AR, whatever, awesome. All day. Yes, I agree 100%, but not inside your house.
Yeah, try coming around a corner without exposing yourself with a shotgun and still maintain a ready position. Try opening a closet door with a shotgun and maintain a ready position. I mean, people see these clearing videos with the guys with shotguns and the guy in the front with like a PCC or something. But you ever notice that the guy in the front who's opened the doors, he always flings open the doors and jumps away because he's having to lower his weapon to do it, and he's not in a ready position anymore. That's what the backup guys are for. It's really hard to open a door and stay in ready position with a long gun. Let's see here. I really want a Walther PDP. This is John Heasley. Now that we've been talking about them and a knife and a bobcat, I kind of want one too, but I just don't see the need in my collection for another polymer gun right now. Although I would like to know how good they are. Have you ever had any interest in the Walther PDP?
I'm not a big Walther fan outside of like the PPK and the PPKS, honestly. So I've never liked any of their just kind of more modern handguns at all. I'm not saying they're bad guns. They are actually good, reliable guns. If you like them, awesome. It's a personal preference thing. I just don't like them, just for me personally, but I'm not saying they're bad guns or anything.
It's just kind of like how I feel about Smith & Wesson M&Ps. I mean, they're fine guns. I just don't like them.
Yeah.
Hail Phil, this is from Kevin Payton. Never Enough Ammo. Have you looked at the new SIG P226 X-Carry Legion double action, single action yet? You guys
I've seen them. Yeah, they're fucking phenomenal. I mean, I would, yeah. It's a 226. I mean, I don't think, has there ever been a bad 226?
Well, no.
I mean, there's never been a 226 that I have ever looked at or shot or gotten my hands on that I've ever said, I would never own this. Never. Yeah. I've never said that about a 226.
Yeah, all the variations of the 226 are always pretty good. I mean, none of them are garbage because you're starting off with the 226. It's hard to fuck it up. It's one of the best 9mm duty pistols ever made. You know, double action, single action, hammer fire, decocker, just awesome gun. So sturdy built, just a really good defensive firearm and offensive if you're using it as a duty gun. I think we're joined by gun websites here who just showed up whenever he felt like it.
Well, whatever. Does this mic work?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. You normally been starting at 20 after, so I had it all queued up and I turned my laptop off to save power, and then you'd started at the top of the hour. So
that's what I told people. I'm like, he probably thinks we're starting at 6:20 but today I just didn't feel like thinking of a topic. So I was just like, screw the first part. I'm like, I'm getting burnout. You know what I mean?
You must have they sent the link out like at 2 p.m. according to my thing, so that was early enough for Matt before he had his porridge and went to bed early.
Yeah, or went out bashing heads with him and his law enforcement buddies.
Yeah.
Goon
Was
Squad.
it CIA you're in now?
I cannot disclose that information.
You can only talk about the cover business that he works
with.
Yeah. All right, let me get back over here to the questions. Let's see if anything's coming in here.
So let's say you're upstairs in the balcony of the main building, and there's somebody breaking in downstairs in the east wing, and you're supposed to now have a pistol, like, a 1,200-yard shot. Come on.
His mansion up there in Greenland, where he moved to as a member of the CIA.
We all live in tiny houses. Come on.
Yep. I think he was talking specifically to you, Neverenuffammo. Let's see here.
Well, I don't like shotguns for lots of reasons, but I like ARs because you can hold an AR with one hand a lot more easily than you can hold a shotgun. So I get what you're saying with the two-handed thing. That's valuable, or that's valid. But mainly it's because you don't get to choose if the person runs outside or something, or takes something important and runs outside, or if there's dozens of people outside that rush in. So for the unknowns is why I like the capacity and the abilities of the AR. But
if they run outside with something, that's when you have those boomerangs with a hook on one end so that you can throw it, knock whatever they caught out of their hand, it hooks to the boomerang and it comes back to you and they keep running.
Okay, assuming that's broken. Or I was going to say maybe a fence that shoots up out of the ground when needed.
Yeah, like so those bollards or whatever they call them in Europe. Have you ever seen those where you're like driving down the street and suddenly big concrete barriers pop up because the street's closed this time of day? Let's see here. Andrew the Cashew 27 says, do you think SIG will build a service-sized P365? Well, they kind of already do. Didn't they make the P365 XL? Isn't that pretty big?
Yeah, it's a full. I mean, it's not quite Glock 17 size, but it's bigger than the Glock 19.
So yeah, so that kind of is a full size one. So that's why one of the things I get on the gun community about sometime is it's like, you know what, these guns we make are too big, so we made you this small one. And then like 6 months later, it's like, you know what, that gun's too small. Now it's as big as the ones you already had available to you. I'm like, well, that's just, why make the little guns big? I mean, why muddy your brand? You know, the model number, just have one be small, one be medium, and one be large. They don't all have to try to fit into the same category.
I don't know. I think we can just all agree that when it comes to polymer guns, SIG just needs to bring back the SP 2022 and be done with it. It was the best polymer gun they've ever produced. It probably ever will produce. And there was no other reason for them to ever do another polymer gun just to try and copy Glock.
So, yeah, the P222, that was a nice gun, but it's a lot to say. SP 2022.
I don't know. Shorten the name up or something. It's only one number difference from everything else.
Yeah, but it screws me up. Well, it's also got an SP, doesn't it? Isn't it an SP?
It's an SP, yes.
So
why? I don't know. I don't know. Call it the P240, 229. I don't. Who knows? Who gives
give it a name like this?
It was a great gun. That's all I know. It was a fantastic gun.
Yeah, just bring it back and call it the SIG M9 or M. No, that's already taken. M4 or something. I don't know, whatever they want to call it, or the S4, whatever, or S9.
Does SIG does all that S and P and all that mean stuff in the SIG nomenclature?
What's that? I don't know.
Or do they make that shit up for each line?
Probably means something to them, but it's probably inconsequential.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I think the P doesn't stand for pistola or something. So
I mean, are there any gun companies that do a normal naming system? Like every one of them has their own like stupid, unique way of doing it. Do you think they do that intentionally, or that's shit?
You know, if it begins with a 6, it's stainless. If it begins with a 3, it's scandium. If it's begins with a 4, it's this. If it begins with, if it's only 2 letters, it's this.
And they didn't try to. That was like for their internal stuff, I'm sure, right? Or for like ordering, like that isn't to make it easy for customers. Like, I mean, nobody's ever done it like this. Just make like one of these new companies. Maybe are they figuring out that like, hey, if we make them easy to understand, people will buy our guns more. I kind of
like and hate the way Glock does it, because every new model has another number. If it's a variation of that gun, it's a variation of that gun. But
in theory, I like it, but it comes out stupid. So there's no way to. You have to memorize it like some kind of stupid school thing.
It's like
it's useless knowledge. But
yeah,
I mean, I like the idea that each each patent number gets a new one or whatever. But yeah, that was not thought out for the long run.
Yeah, because in the long run, you end up with weird combinations where you're like, well, you would think from the number that this gun is a 45, but it's really something that has nothing to do with the number. Let's see here, where we at? That was Andrew.
All right, so I'm in Tennessee at that goals thing. So if there's no topic, what do y'all think of goals having a show, like an NRA show, except it's smaller? They do a day of shooting, and it's just media and industry. And then they do a day of the show where the booths are all set up and everything, and it's just industry and the media. That's the Friday. And then Saturday and Sunday, it's like the NRA show where it's open to the public. It's not really like the NRA show in the respect that the GOA has any kind of general meeting, but they do have like seminars and things to listen to people and stuff and meet people. So it's kind of a meet and greet, and look at, all the companies set up their booths that they would have at like a SHOT Show. Except it's no business. It's just look at our guns, peel the trigger, ask questions. And then this is the second year, so they've moved it. No, they haven't. This has been the second year in this location. I think it's moving though. So anyway, any thoughts on GOA doing an event like this?
I'm all for any events that give people a place to gather and talk about the industry and strategy and all this other stuff. But it gets expensive to go to these things. I'll say that. But I don't have anything against any company, like doing it, period. Except for, well, I did get a little upset when TriggerCon came to Seattle and then they patted us all down and made us go through metal detectors.
TriggerCon was different because that was like a big gun shop that had like an industry day where like the industry reps would show up, and then they kind of upscaled it to let's meet at a convention center and really make this a big deal. But like you say, they did that in Washington near Oregon at a time when that was a focus and people cared about that. I would say that's a tender spot at the time. And then, they frisked everybody. So people literally said, fuck this, and didn't go in and made big videos instead, like not powerful channels, but channels with big voices, big noises. And, but they'd say, I'm never going to go to this thing again. But it was interesting because it wasn't like, well, Gun Owners of America, how much they bring in now. The last I looked, something like 10 million a year. And NRA was bringing in more like 300 million. And when they were really making money, 200 million. So doing an NRA show when you're bringing in 200 million is one thing. A $10 million organization, maybe they're making 20 now. I haven't looked at their numbers in a bit. But even if they're making more than 10, you look at Second Amendment Foundation, look at SHOT Show, NSSF, they spend fucking 8-10 million on SHOT. And this is no event like SHOT, but I'm not sure the allocation of resources. And then you hear, oh, we're not the NRA, but we're going to do a big show like the NRA. Like that's, like what we have to have these big shows or something. Well, the thing is, why does GOA have to do this? I'm not saying they're poor, but they've only got 10 million. And in the big scheme of things, let's look at USCCA. How much do they make? You guys have any idea? I bitch about this all the time. How much does USCCA make?
No idea. I'm
not talking about, right? So think about it. They brag about 800,000 members. I don't know, whatever you look, go to the bottom of their screen on their website and they'll tell you how many members they have. Then go to the screen that says paying options, and their cheapest option is $30. So whenever I did the math last, it's $24 million a month. $24 million a month. NRA can do the NRA show. SHOT Show can do the SHOT Show for $10 million. $24 million a month. And then when they did a show, it was just CCW. It was just pistols, and they did it for like 2 years and quit. So I'm just saying, and then we have an organization I won't bring up in Colorado that brings in tens of millions of fucking dollars whenever they feel like it. And then they go away and hide whenever they feel like it.
Until they spend all their money and they come back.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I don't know if they spend. Can you spend that much? I mean, I don't think they have time to spend
houses and boats money and cars and stuff like that out of it. They didn't really do anything for the Second Amendment, but they really enriched their own personal lives.
I mean, I dig like you say, I dig the concept for sure. And I haven't seen the show. I've only been to the shoot right now, so I still have yet to see the rest of the show. But anyway, I was curious what you guys thought about it. Like you said, I think it is always a great thing when you can bring regular people together to talk guns, and in this case, a focus on awareness and activism more than just the toys and tools. So it's different than the NRA show in that case, but I suspect that Saturday and Sunday is going to be a lot more about toys and tools than,
Well, the only thing that gets me about any of these groups, and it's not just the shows, it's that, me, I'm a cynic. And whenever I see any organization, any gun organization, let's say GOA, let's say if they bring in $20 million, then I have to say to myself, well, how much of that is funding the organization? That's $20 million.
GOA is solid. GOA is solid because that any nonprofit has to report that. And that's what I go to whenever I found that source like 5 years ago, I go to that source.
They're still maintaining an infrastructure and pay schedules and everything else.
But it's less than 10%. It's fucking good. FPC is really good. They're super good. The only one that's bad is that one in Colorado, which is, we spend about 30% to our advertisers. And then, we're our advertisers.
Yeah, we're our advertisers.
But everybody else is fairly decent. They don't really unless they're hiding it, they're not spending money on their infrastructure. They are spending it on stuff. And that's why I'm frustrated because, again, I like rallies, dude. Like, I like rallies. I like people coming together and doing something. We got 4 people in jail right now that do not need to be in fucking jail. And I don't think we need to talk about triggers and fucking red dots more. There's other people making a lot more money that can talk about red dots and triggers. But I understand also that you're not going to bring tens of thousands of people to an event if you don't talk about triggers and fucking robots.
Well, remember what it got to be like trying to schedule a rally?
Oh, dude. Yeah,
Trying
that's why
to
you
get-
guys ain't big giant channel. Well, you're kind of a big channel, but you know what I'm saying? Like back in the days, you guys were not big giant channels because you were advocates of rallies when everybody else was like, why don't we shut up about that and talk about AR-15?
Why don't we talk about what the industry wants us to talk about instead of worrying about our gun rights?
Who's in jail? We got the guy in New York who was building guns, Dexter Taylor. He's been in jail for a while, and he's actually been on a couple of interviews. Should have him on, Yankee, because he can call out from jail for whatever 20 minutes at a time, and he's fucking a cool ass dude. He's like an engineer and radio guy. He's just like a tinkerer guy who's doing minding his business and made some
Any
guns.
day, I would have people. I have an open door policy to anybody who wants to be on the show.
Well, I don't know how to, but there's somebody you talk to offline, and that's who arranges it, and then he calls you. So I just learned about that because I've heard him on a couple of shows. So it's his plight or whatever, the thing he's going through is shit, but he's a cool fucking dude. And then there's a couple that was going through Massachusetts doing Uber food or whatever that's called, like Uber delivery food, to make their way across the country from Arizona. They were going to someplace to live. He got pulled over, and somehow because he had guns in his car that he was moving with, he had all his stuff in his car because he was moving. He's in jail for like, I forget how many months now. And then we've got the Navy guy who was selling, like when you demill an RPG or something, drill giant holes in it. He was selling stuff like that. The ATF wired it all fucking back together and said it's a bomb or some shit. He's in jail. And then the fourth would be, what's that guy? Matt Hoover?
CRS.
Yeah.
But like I say, 3 or 4 people that like we could be doing stuff that isn't just rah, rah, rah. I mean, I'm all about industry. What the fuck? I go to SHOT Show for like how many years now, but I dig the industry.
Yeah.
But the industry isn't like, oh no, you know what I mean? Like the industry comes and goes and it gets bigger and smaller, but it ain't going nowhere. And it's not at a time when like, oh, we better all pitch in because the industry is about to fail. Like the industry had a couple of swollen years there, and it's not as swollen, but anyway, I'd like to see.
Well, that's the problem is they're trying to maintain that artificial size of the market, and that can't be maintained without just total panic. And even then, people can't maintain it. I mean, how many times can someone spend their mortgage money on extra ammo and put their mortgage off for a month? You can't do that very many times. But they try to maintain that anyway. It's one of the things wrong with the industry right now, which is why they're trying to create another ammo shortage because they got to sell more ammo. So they know if they convince everybody to run out and panic buy ammo, then they'll be able to say, look, we told you there was going to be a shortage. But I try not to get as much into that stuff than I have to. But I would love to see the industry get more involved in the issues, but they don't care about the issues. It's just like with the money that go into gun groups. Yeah, I mean, maybe they spend 90% of what they bring in on trying to foster gun rights. But where does it go when you really look? It's like, oh, we threw a banquet for people in Washington, D.C. And, oh, we donated money to these campaign funds. That money, to me, would do more good going to the lawsuits that are being filed across the country, fighting for people like you say that are in jail right now. How about instead of throwing a $200,000 banquet, you pay $200,000 for an attorney to make a big stink and make this a national deal.
$200 worth of marketing or whatever, some amount of money worth of marketing, so that everyone knows the names of these folks. They're always looking for cases to go to the Supreme Court, right? Boom, like we got 3D printing, we've got demilled firearms, and then we've got state lines. Traveling state lines. Let's take them.
Avo 80357 says, good evening, Yanks. I want to get me a 4570 lever gun in stainless. Which manufacturer is best, Smith & Wesson, Marlin, or Henry? Well,
Marlin.
I can't say Smith & Wesson's not awesome or Henry's not awesome, but when it comes to stainless 4570s, the guide gun from Marlin's awesome.
SBL.
Yeah, my son's got one of those. It's like my guide gun, but it's got a rail.
Yeah. I mean, I personally, I like my GBL better because I like blued, but same gun. The SBL does come with extra stuff because it's got the rail and everything on it that the GBL does not. Fantastic guns.
Yeah, I'm going to say Marlin too. And also, I'm not slandering Henry's. I love Henry's. I'm not slandering Smith. Never tried one of the Smiths. They're kind of expensive. Have you ever shot one of the Smiths?
I never have. Not any of their lever guns.
Yeah, me either, because they're kind of pricey. I'm like, I can get 2 Marlins pretty much for the same price. State Hats says, Yankee, how's it going? What's happening with this ammo rationing talk I'm hearing over YouTube? I don't know much about what they're doing, but to me, it just seems like another, hey, let's create a false demand so that we can have a shortage and raise prices. Because remember, they tried to do that about a year ago. All the big YouTube channels, everybody that works under Leviathan and the other agency, they were all, oh yeah, I've heard through the grapevine that ammo is about to dry up because the military's ordered, and you're not going to get ammo. All the ammo is going to dry up. And if you ask them questions like, well, why would military orders dry up 357 SIG or 357 Magnum or any of those things that you're saying you're not going to be able to get any of them? Military would never buy those things anyway. And plus, I don't see any extra purchasing going on by the military or the government. You know, they'll be like, oh, the government just ordered blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, that was their normal yearly order that they put in, and it's been known about for 2 years. But they try to make it something like nefarious, like the government just went in and bought up all the ammo so that we can't have it. You better go get it now because they're doing it again.
Well, it used to be like the IRS bought ammo or something, like, you know what I mean? But then when you look, like every department fucking buys ammo. And when they buy it once a year, it's a shit ton.
Yep.
I imagine the implication is that if they start making all military calibers, then they're going to shut down production on the other lines and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But, if you've been around for a while, then you know that, I mean, artificial or not, there's going to be ammo shortages. Like we've had actual ammo shortages plenty of times in the past. One of the projects, whenever I get time to do it, I wanted to map out or like put a timeline up of all the different ammo shortages. But this is good time as any to preach to the choir and then to tell all the new kids. Gun shows were awesome back in the day because you'd go to a gun show and you'd pay $20 to get in. And I would at least dollar cost average. So in other words, if it costs me $20 to get in, I'm going to try to get as much of that $20 back as I can. So I'm going to buy anything at the show that I can that's cheaper than buying it anywhere else, like a gun shop back in the day. And that would be magazines and ammo. Right. So and then my policy was always buy 2, shoot 1. Or ideally, if you got money, buy 3, shoot 1. Mm-hmm. Because there's ammo shortages, because there's wars that happen, because sometimes you fucking own a gun for defense of your fucking country, life, and family, right? So you can have all the guns you want, but you better have at least a couple of thousand rounds of ammo for each one if you're going to be worth the shit. Otherwise, you just stand there dying with an interesting gun in your hands, right? Like bullets are what matters. So back in the days, you could go to a gun show and, like I say, like come home from a gun show with some ammo, regardless if it was a good deal or not, because you were always going to buy something buying at the gun show. But you can do the same thing to keep your small businesses and small gun shops in business, right? Every time you go to a gun shop, buy 2 boxes, only shoot 1. Have like 2 cabinets if you have to, and you come home from the gun shop with 2 boxes. 1 goes in for the war, and 1 goes in for the range. 1 goes in for in case, or maybe you're giving it to your grandkids, and 1 goes in to you shoot it at the range. And there's nothing wrong with also saying, like, I go to the range and I shoot 38 rounds instead of 50 out of this box. That empty box goes to the grandkids. It goes into this box that's, this case that's never going to get taken to the range. Have that discipline and that like routine. And every once in a while, okay, I got to dip in there and grab 1,000 rounds for a class or something. You can do it.
Yeah, and that's why I like to buy, when I go to Sporting Systems, I like their big boxes of ammo, because you buy 2 of those, if you shoot 1, they're not that expensive because they're a small manufacturer, but they're defensive level loadings. So if I sit them back, it's not like I've just got like weak 9mm sitting over there. It's still good defensive ammo, but I didn't spend a ton for it, and I can keep a box, shoot a box. But lately, that's not working with my 9mm because Caden is shooting up all my 9mm. So your plan falls apart when you have kids.
Yeah, you got to hide half of it or something, I guess.
I had a whole box of loose 9mm.
Put half of it in like the cabinet with the cleaning supplies, and they'll never see it.
You'll never go there. It's like I had a whole box of loose 9mm. I mean, it was those big orange boxes behind me, and it was full of 9mm ammo. And I went one day to get some ammo, and I'm like, there's like 100 rounds in here now. There was like 2,000 rounds in here. And I'm like, what happened to all this? And Caden's like, well, you said me and my friends could shoot as much as we wanted. And I'm like, well, I didn't mean for every day for 6 months and shoot all my.
It's an empty caliber. You shoot. It's like Chinese food. You shoot 9mm, and you're
want to shoot
found
again
lacking, and you want to shoot something real. You want to shoot more.
Exactly. Where was I? Heavy J said, "Oh look, the Northerner has arrived. Pay your tithe." Yeah, you never enough ammo. Where's it you moved to? Greenland? Was that it?
Yeah. No, Canada. Nova Scotia.
Nova Scotia?
Yeah. Hey, that's why he says A all the time.
Are there a lot of Nordic people up there?
Oh yeah. Tons.
Why is it called Nova Scotia? I don't know. I don't know a lot about Canada. I know the west coast of Canada. I know absolutely nothing about the east coast of Canada, which I spent the first half of my life on the east coast, but had no interest in most of Canada. So I don't know much about the east coast of Canada. And what I assume there's the east coast of Canada and the west coast of Canada, and then in between that's just bears, right? So I don't know.
I kind of figure, I don't know, man. I mean, honestly, I'm like 45 minutes from Canada. And we've been here for 6 months. I haven't even thought about going there.
Yeah.
I mean, we're right close to Toronto, so.
I mean, the only way.
I was going to say, aren't you near the part that speaks French or something?
Quebec.
Well, that's Quebec, eh?
Yep.
No, we're close to Toronto. Well, I mean, Jesus Christ, we're close to everything. I mean,
the only reason to go to Canada is if you want gravy on your French fries.
There's got to be. Wasn't there things you could get cheap in Canada and bring them back? I don't know, booze or something.
Not as much these days, I don't think, but maybe.
You know what it was back in the day? I do remember people going into Canada when we were young. You could go drink in Canada at like 14 or some shit.
Oh yeah, beers used to be real cheap in Canada too. I remember people used to talk about going up to Canada and how you could, for $3, you'd get drunk as you wanted to get. But that was way back in the day. I think beer was like their national beverage, so it was like going up and getting.
Well, it's like those. So it's one of those countries where you can't drink the water; you have to just drink beer.
Just drink the beer. Well, you can't drink the runoff and stuff. There's too much bear piss in it, so you have to drink the beer. Danny Pennant says, "I still got worms in my tubes. Any new advice?" I'm not sure I understand what that means.
You talking like internet tubes or inside tubes?
I don't know.
It
just got
sounds like a disgusting topic I don't want to cover.
Yeah. I mean, I think Scorch had worms, but I didn't know Danny Pennant had worms too.
A handful of tacks, swallowed some bleach. Probably should get rid of them.
Well, swallowing bleach usually solves most anything that's wrong with you. I'll say that.
Really quick.
Yeah, pretty fast usually. Andrew the Cashew, I don't know who that is, but they've chimed in like 3 times now, says, read an article on the Beretta 92XI on Single Action Defense blog. I hate 2011s, but love Beretta and the 1911s. Good home defense choice. Well, I mean, if you wanted the single action Beretta, yeah, it's a good gun. I mean, I prefer the double action single action Berettas, but I have one of the single action Berettas up here. People are like, well, it's got the safety on the frame. I'm like, I'd just rather have it be double action, single action. But now they do that. They do double action, single action with a safety on the frame also. But
Beretta makes a safety on the frame?
Yeah, they do some with safeties on the frame now.
Yeah, on the XI, because it's, I mean, essentially, let's be honest here. With that new Vertec grip, it's basically got the same grip angle as a 1911. It's single action like a 1911. It's basically a 9mm double stack 1911 is what the 92XI is.
Mm-hmm.
So, like if you like 1911s but you want more capacity and you don't mind 9mm as opposed to 45, then it's a fucking great gun.
Plus, I don't think they charge $4,000 or $2,000 to $4,000 for those like they do.
No, it's under $1,000.
Yeah,
I see them for about $850 ish.
Yeah, so it's a inexpensive and I think a better alternative to like a 2011.
Oh yeah, I mean, again, the only thing is if you really like 45, then a 2011 is going to be a better option for you.
They don't make any of them hardly any of them in 45 anymore.
Well, I mean, there's still a couple. I mean, well, the one I would get, which is the Rock Island Armory.
Yeah, that one you can still get it in 10 and 45. Most of them now have transitioned to mostly 9mm. It's like 99 of the guns, percent of the guns they make are 9mm.
Well, it's because everybody's going back. All law enforcement's going back to 9mm, which they're like fucking 15 years behind the curve at this point. But that's why. So it's just like everything, man. Every time law enforcement does something, everybody jumps on board because, oh, this is, see, they're doing it. Well, we're going to do it. Motherfucker, people have been telling you, I've been saying for 15 years on YouTube that 9mm is going to make a comeback and people are going to dump 40. Yeah. There was like, no, 40 is going to be around forever. It's the greatest caliber ever. Okay. No, it's not.
Now, the industry wants to consolidate. It's much cheaper than them if they just made it to where all guns were the same caliber and they just had to make one caliber. They'd make so much more money.
And the fact that for the last 20 years, modern 9mm does all the things that they transitioned to 40 in the late 80s and early 90s to do, with the hard barrier penetration and getting through windshields and all those things that they were like 9mm can't do this back in the 80s and early 90s. And they're like, oh, that's why we need 40. 9mm now does all that.
Well, so, first it was that's why we need 10mm, but then they went, well, that's too strong.
It's too much. People can't handle that. So they went to 40. Well, there's no advantage to 40 anymore. No. You're losing 2 rounds and you're buying more expensive ammunition.
Other than the fact that 40 can penetrate a water bottle.
I'm sure it can.
Mm-hmm. So 9 can't. I proved that the other day in a video.
So I mean, maybe if people did some push-ups, 40 would be worth it.
They can handle it. Yeah. Because I would much rather 40 be the standard and just, be as cheap as 9mm because they make as much of it as 9mm and blah, blah, blah. So that would be a better go. But, cops are delicate creatures. They can't be handling powerful guns. Google. Whatever. What'd you say?
I was going to ask Matt. I was wondering, what's the gun shop situation? Have you been out looking at your gun shops where you've moved to? Are they? Do you have a good selection of them?
Several, a lot of gun shops here. I mean, going back to what we were talking about a minute ago. I mean, the number one thing you're going to find in gun shops right now are police trade-in 40s. The entire state of Michigan is gone back to 9mm.
Oh, okay.
Of course, a lot of them are. I mean, it's about half Glocks and about half P320s that have been dumped. So it's actually, if you want a 40 caliber Glock or SIG, it's a great time to buy right now.
Is Michigan the state that went to the PDP?
I think some of the departments did, but like the main, like MSP, which is Michigan State Police, and some of the larger jurisdictions, just they're going to they went back to the Glock. They didn't go back to the 17. What's the other one now that quote unquote is replacing the 17? I can't remember what number is that one.
Numbers on Glocks.
Yeah, I don't fucking remember which one it is, but that's what like Detroit and Michigan State Police and Flint PD and Flint Township and a lot of I think Lansing, most of them are just going back to 9mm Glocks.
I got a text message just now from Dan from Sporting Systems saying that, what did he say here? Hold on. He said, I'll have the newest FAFO ammo 45 ACP done on Saturday. I'll have a can of the 9mm and 45 ACP at the shop for you next week. Oh, cool. Maybe I'll give that away as a giveaway or something. But
I took Instagram off of my phone. I haven't been watching the socials as much. I've been doing other things. So how's Sporting Systems been doing?
I assume they're doing fine. I mean, it's hard to make money in the state of Washington now. Luckily, he makes money through his other business too. Because
because you guys have really yanked the chain on gun owners in that state.
Yeah, it's
or I should say on gun shop.
Yeah, it's hard to make money at a gun shop. Well, it's always been hard to make money on a gun shop, but especially now in this state because and that's the main goal of these laws.
Yeah, they made it really hard to buy a gun. So why would anybody want to? Now the gun shops are suffering.
Yeah, they limit what you can get. Like, if it's got a flash hider or a detachable magazine, and then it's also got a pistol grip, you can't own it. So they take away 80% of their sales. And then they make it harder for them to sell the rest of it. It's really to drive the industry under. It's not to drop crime rates or anything like that. It's to wipe out the industry. So that when they later want to start banning even more things, there won't be as much incentive for people to fight back. Because there's already no gun shops, so why bother? But they're doing the FAFO ammo, the fuck around and find out is what I assume that stands for. Speaking of which, they're the ones that make the Minuteman ammo I like so much. So, and people think they pay me. They don't pay me. They are going, he is going to give me a couple of hands of ammo, but they don't pay me. I wish they gave me a free, well, this ain't it, but they gave me a free hat. That's all it takes to buy me usually is a free hat. I like free hats. Let's see here. Let's get back over to the questions. Danny Pennant says, I'm quoting Bilbo from The Hobbit, by the way. I don't think I have parasites. Good for home defense, though. I guess that's Bilbo. Did Bilbo say he had worms?
I don't remember. I haven't read The Hobbit since like I was a kid.
Yeah, it's been like junior high school, I think, last time I read The Hobbit. I remember I read The Silmarillion, and I'll never do that again. That book was so fucking confusing. I was like, I have no clue what's going on. Heavy J says, Yeet Cannon is by far the best named gun. Well, that got named by contest, didn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, they didn't name it. They let people decide what it should be called, and the winner was Yeet Cannon. And I wanted one really bad, but they kept stringing us along, and then they just took the regular C9 or whatever it is and wrote
Yeet Cannon. That was gonna. So they announced it in 2019. We all talked about it. We all got excited about it. They said it was coming out in 2020. We all waited around. SHOT Show 2020 came. We were excited to see it. I think they had one mock-up of it at SHOT Show, and then a bunch of the standard models that just said Yeet Cannon. Then COVID hit, and we've never heard of it since. So,
yeah, it disappeared. I don't know where it went, but it went away. Let's see here. I think that's all the regular questions here. So now let's see if there's anything over here in the comments. The Ninth Circuit ruled limiting firearms purchases to one a month was unconstitutional. Well, I think anyone could have told you that. And California apparently didn't appeal. Well, they know there's no win in that. That was just one of those things they threw at the wall, seeing how long. They didn't know. They even knew it wouldn't stick. But if they could get it on the books and, like, say, for 6 months, people could only buy one gun a person, and for 6 months until, they got wiped out by the lawsuits, well, then they would have run how many gun shops out of business in just that 6 months because people could only buy one gun a month. That's one of those things they just throw against the wall, not even to see if it'll stick, but seeing how long it takes it to slide down the wall.
And there's no consequences for them, and it's actually positive consequence because then they can use it in their campaigning. Like, look what we were able to do. Look what onerous shit we've added. Like, and the other side loves that shit. And even like you say, if it actually gets removed, they can still say, "Hey, look what I was able to do," but they took it away. So pay me more, and I'll go do it again. So it's the fucking back and forth. Let's educate people so that they're not as scared of guns. So that these fucking politicians don't have that leverage. The leverage is that they can dupe regular people on the street thinking guns are the problem. It's the whole like forks didn't eat my food for me shit. Everybody gets behind that, but we haven't figured out an effective way to market that to the masses that it ain't the fucking guns. And once people figure out that politicians have been leveraging guns to keep people against each other, fuck them. The politicians hopefully will take a fucking massive lesson from that, and we'll have a new breed of politicians that don't fucking act that way. I know I'm optimistic, but I think it can be done.
Even here in Washington, every time they pass a new gun law, someone will inevitably ask in one of the hearings, they'll ask the writer of the bill, well, how will this have any effect on crime? And their answers are always, oh, something really ridiculous. Or usually it's, we don't know that it will, but until we try, we won't know.
Well, we have to do something.
That's why we make fun of the just one child bullshit, because that was their plea or their cry the fucking longest time. Like, how does this ineffective shit work? Like, where have you come up with any studies that this will be effective? Well, if it saves just one child.
They always use that, oh, but it's always better to do something than do nothing. And I'm like, no, when you don't know what you're doing, it's better to do nothing. It's better to wait till you know what you're doing, or someone who knows what they're doing comes along to do something. Like if your house is on fire, you don't throw gasoline on it. Say, well, it's better to do something.
You had to do something. I had to act.
Yep. So it's just ridiculous garbage. And like I say, the perfect example of how it's not about lives, it's about guns, is when the Democrats and the politicians love to trot out the doctors to pull on your heartstrings of like the number of teenagers and young adults I've seen die from guns. It's heart-wrenching. I just have to stand up and get involved. And I'll be like, well, how many people have you seen die from motorcycle accidents? Oh, well, 10 times as many. Well, why aren't you out here crying about motorcycles, trying to get them illegal? If they kill 10 times more people, it's because no one's paying you to do that.
Because there's a fucking real motorcycle industry. And if someone came up with Moms Against Motorcycles,
Yep.
which they could easily fucking do because it's MOM or no,
Mhm.
MAM or something, MAM, Moms Against Motorcycles, there would be an actual industry to wail on them. But they know the gun industry is essentially supported by the military police complex. So, part of it is just funded and it's never going to change. And the other part of it fluctuates in gun shops like, or like right on the border. They know they can actually potentially be effective. But they also hate guns and they love this divide. So they go after us because our industry doesn't have the resources and we haven't become a united group to fight it. But I also suspect if you went against motorcycles, how fast would it take all motorcyclists to band together? They already have to be against regular drivers. They already know what it's like to be in clubs. They'd be unified in a fucking moment.
Oh, yeah. Washington, D.C. would be shut down.
How hard would it be to get parades of motorcycles to happen?
Yep.
You know what I mean? And no one would be again. There'd be nothing illegal. No one would be like, "Oh, if you don't take your Harley, then you're not really protesting. If you don't bring your, quad, then you're not a protest." There would just be a million motorcycle ride or whatever would happen. Yeah. Look at what happens when they fuck with truckers. They shut down fucking everything because truckers have a fucking existing infrastructure. They just know that we're weak. And our national level, I'm going to say it, our national level organizations are all out for themselves. They make fucking money and they haven't been challenged to fucking end this shit. They think that they're not going to end. It's the same kind of thing that people think, like, if you get rid of the NFA, rich people don't want the NFA. That's fucking stupid. You're not a rich person. People who understand that a Thompson from World War II is going to be worth so much more when everyone owns a Thompson and everyone can buy it. Right now, the only people that can buy a $65,000 Thompson are people that want to go through all that bullshit. But once there's no bullshit, how many people have $65,000? A lot of fucking people. So there's going to be hundreds of $1,000s worth of Thompsons out there. So it's the same concept. If you think the organizations aren't going to exist when there's no challenges to them, dude, they have all these state challenges. And then we have all kinds of other stuff. Like they have all kinds of reason to exist once they've, and what would happen is they could say, we're the organization that got rid of the NFA. Like they'd be cheered forever. And then we'd have, anyway, I think there's a lot more they can do than just challenge old shit. Like they don't have nothing to fear.
Well, that's why I always think that instead of national organizations now, what I'd like to see is a well-organized network of state to state activists, volunteer activists, and attorneys that when there's a fight somewhere, everybody knows it. You get online, you're like, oh, the biggest battles right now are in California and New Jersey. And right now the legal bill is 150,000 there and 200,000 there. Well, let's get on the computer and transfer our money over. And oh, look, it's fully funded. And none of it wasted.
Like an open source 2A situation where, like you say, you allocate the funds immediately as necessary, and our adversaries are never going to be able to keep up with that, and they'll end quickly because they have other things. They will go after backyard pools. They'll go after, we need some kind of ramps on stairways, they need something that doesn't have an organized resistance. As soon as there's an organized resistance, they're gone. They have no resolve. We know they're standing on weak sauce. So as soon as there's like an effective challenge, they're gone. But
yeah, the whole system we have right now is designed to eat its own tail. It's meant to be secular. It's meant to justify its own existence. It's meant to, generate its own income, kind of a thing, a reason for its own existence. So it's one of the reasons I don't like, and that's unfortunately true with a lot of things. Eventually it becomes about just justifying their own existence and maintaining a profit margin. So Django just came in and looked at me like, what the fuck? When are you going to be done? You know, it's not time yet, Django. He's in here. He's laying in there in the floor. See him right there. He's right there. He's always on guard duty when I'm, and there's a box of holsters. But he's always on guard duty when I'm working. He sits by the door. Do your dogs sit and guard the door when you're working?
Right now, this little dude is running all around looking for a place to pee. So I've been holding him for like the last 20 minutes so he doesn't pee in the hotel. Come here.
So yeah, that's not.
As soon as we're over, I'm going to take him out and let him do his business.
All right, let's move on here then. Let's get going. Donna W says, I'm going to miss California 1 gun a month challenge. Yeah, I guess if you only can buy, well, I don't even buy a gun a month though. Do you all buy a gun a month?
No, but if I want to, I'm going to buy 100.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It makes me want to go buy more than one. But these days, I don't even, back when I had more money, I bought more than one. I bought a gun a month. But nowadays, and plus I'm to a stage where the next new gun, is it really a new gun? You know what I mean? Is it just a newly decorated old gun?
Plus, fuck them in the theory that that's going to do anything, because criminals are going to do whatever the fuck they want. There's no like, get in line to buy your next syringe of meth or whatever the fuck, or your next line of whatever drug, right? And then what happens when you either inherit guns or you get gifted guns? That bullshit, buy 1 gun a month. What that really means is $144.73 a month. That means if you get inherited a collection, or you trade for a collection or something, but you're going to ration you're going to have to sit at a gun shop and you get your 1 gun. You have to decide which gun from your own property you get to transfer to yourself. It's ridiculous. It's
garbage.
Yeah, it's horrible.
And they knew it would never last. It was just hey, if we could reduce sales for gun shops for 6 months, we've reduced sales for gun shops. Because that's one thing a lot of people don't realize. They think everyone that owns a gun shop, especially if it's a mom and pop gun shop's been there for a while, well, that guy's rolling in money. That's usually not the case. Gun shops are usually businesses of passion that are barely hanging on. They're always on the razor, always on the edge of. Now, there are big online retailers and stuff like that, but those are the first ones that stop doing whatever they're doing whenever shit gets real. They don't fight for anybody's rights. The only thing they care about is mass sales. And if they couldn't sell guns tomorrow, they'd start selling something else. They'd go back to whatever it was before they were a distributor for guns. Because those are industries. Those are corporations usually. Paul Rollerson says, any thoughts about unusual calibers like 10 millimeter and 5.56 by 28? I don't know what it means. I don't know how 10 millimeter is unusual. I think that's pretty common. I would say 10 millimeter now has reached the level of being a common caliber. It's just not as common as like 9 millimeter or 45. But I think it's when you talk about like, what are the 5 most common semi-automatic handgun calibers? I think 10 millimeter would get in there.
How could it not be in there?
Yeah.
Even if you reduced it to semi-automatic, you got 9. What the fuck else is there? 380 and 25? Like nothing else using it.
Well, 25 and 32, no one even thinks about those anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, very rarely. I guess there's 22, but I don't know if that's really that.
As far as Tomato, you got what? 22, 380, 940, 357 SIG.
Yeah, I wouldn't know if that's common anymore.
Not common
45.
anymore.
45.
I mean, that's only 7 calibers.
Yeah, it's not like
I mean, and that includes 10 mil. So,
yeah, but as far as just like not commonly carried, I think that these are calibers.
Well, I would say if you want to get international, you could probably throw 9 millimeter Mac in there, but that's not even 10 calibers total.
Yeah, it's just, and the only reason people stick to common calibers is because, uncommon calibers might be cool and they might have a little niche that they're really good at, but they're generally not as all around good as the more common ones. And it gets really expensive just to play with it, even when you're having to find odd calibers. I've got a couple of guns I don't even own rounds for because I'm like, where do you even get rounds for these fuckers? So I think the only reason uncommon calibers, there's usually 2 reasons that they're uncommon. Because one, either they're just not as good as the calibers that are around. That's one thing I think a lot of people forget. They're always like, well, why don't we have more of these? Well, because 9mm is way better at everything than that round is, except for one thing maybe. Well, why don't we have more of these? Well, because 10mm is better than that round at everything. So why would we need it if we have 10mm? So that's, I think, the main reason why uncommon calibers don't get real common. And the other is just price. Why would you spend the extra money when you got rounds that do everything they do? Because I can't think of an uncommon caliber round that it's like, well, that round will just do something that no other round will do. The closest I come to is, well, the 5.7 by 28. That it does stuff well enough that with the added capacity and the fact that it's center fired instead of rim fired, like a 22 Magnum, that it makes it kind of worth it. I didn't feel like that always. I spent a long time trying to prove that 5.7 by 28 is useless, but as try as I might, I'm failing. But I think that's why most less common calibers are less common, because they're just not as good or they're not as available. Let's see here. I think we're all caught up on the questions.
They've never been issued. The reason 9mm it's got to where it is because it was issued and they kept making it. So if they're going to make it, people are going to try to fuck with it. The calibers on the fringe, there's just fewer people fucking with it and trying to improve it. But I bet you if you looked at all the history of them, I can't think one off the top of my head, but maybe the 9mm is one, because it was designed for military stuff, which is essentially make it do just enough without having to be too much, because we don't want to carry around or pay for anything too much. So you think about it, it was designed to just barely kill somebody. So in war, back in the olden days, so it had to, it got souped up. It might be a story that I'm thinking of. But anyway, some calibers kick around for a while, and then once they get issued, now they're being, produced, and now there's lines. And that's how calibers got hot. What do they call it? Wildcatted into existence, right? Is because some caliber was issued and it wasn't doing quite what they wanted. So they're like, hey, what if we did this, right? Or anyway,
well, that's another thing a lot of people don't realize too. A lot of times they'll look back and they'll see a round and they're like, why ain't this round more common? And like, if you trace its lineage, it's still around. It just evolved into this. It's like people messed with it so much that it's a completely different caliber now, and it's better. So calibers do evolve also into other calibers. Mad Dog says 30 Super is the top round. I think ICE needs to round up every 38 Super in the country and send it back to Mexico where it belongs.
Yeah.
I just got here changing the water pump on my Tundra. I got to do it myself because you don't pick me for the friend of the month. Not mad, just disappointed. Well, yeah, I did. Who won this month? I forget. I'll have to look. But that was Christian Carlson chiming in. He's changing the water. Wait, that's not hard. That's not a hard change, though. That's an easy change.
I had to wrestle with a water pump for a long time on that van.
Now, I guess on different cars, some cars nowadays, they'll design them intentionally like, whoa, water pump. Yeah, it's easy to replace. Just take off the radiator and the alternator and the air conditioning pump, and then remove the heads, and then you can remove the water.
For me, it was the gaskets. It was not the easiest job, but it was possible without taking everything apart. But holding that fucking gasket, anyway, long story short, put the gasket goo on there, let it kind of dry, put the gasket on, let that dry, then jam it up there. I kept doing it wet and it'd slip off and slide and get everything gross. So anyway, didn't know that at the time. And
we changed the water pump on the old Blue Whale out there, the old 94 Silverado 2500 or 1500. We changed that in like 15 minutes. Just undid 4 bolts.
Chevy, that's why.
Oh, on a car, yeah. This was up into a van underneath.
Yeah. Big 5.7 liter V8. You just 3 bolts off, 3 bolts on, and then you hook the hose back up, and it was ready to go. I was like, that's one of the easiest works I've ever done. That's why I love that truck. You can replace anything on it in like 20 minutes. What we
like doing my own work, but then I'm like freaked out for the at least a couple hundred miles, wondering if my own work isn't going to return on me.
Yeah, exactly. That was too easy. Something's going to go wrong. Yeah, but I always I don't like mess with anything that is I guess how to put it, like under high pressure, which is a lot of the systems in a car. I always get nervous when I do that because I'm always like, is there going to be like a tiny little something got in the way or a tiny little dirt piece got somewhere where the seal's got to be strong. And the next thing I know, it's going to be shooting steam out from underneath the hood. But, you know, you just fix them. And if they break, you fix them again. But as long as the part don't break, that, you know, I don't mind, like if I fuck up a seal and I have to take it back off and put a new seal back on it, I don't like doing the work all that much. But as long as you don't fuck it up to where you damage the new part, then I'm okay with it.
I'm okay with if you damage seals, but if you damage baby seals, I feel that's wrong.
Yeah. Well, unless you're going to eat them. You know, got to eat what you club. That's what I always say. And I don't mean like take it home and clean it and dress it and eat it. You got to eat it right there. If you club a baby seal, you have to, everybody gets to stand and watch as you sit there and eat it in front of them. What we need is a zipper that won't catch your foreskin. Well, okay, I don't know if that's got much to do with what we're talking about today, but I guess that makes sense. So that's quite a question to end the chat on, but that's our last question, and we are out of time. So anybody got anything they want to talk about or say before they leave?
I'd just like to say that SIG P320s are dangerous guns that go off by themselves all the time.
It's at least 150,000 times now.
Oh, yeah.
I wake up 3 or 4 times a night in a cold sweat, panicking, and then I remember that I don't have one. So
well, that doesn't mean one didn't break in.
I mean, what if someone left it laying next to me or something?
Yeah, or just left it unattended and it wandered off. I think, and every time it fires, since it, you know, it's only gone off a couple 100,000 times, since we all know there's at least 500,000 deaths so far, it must take out multiple people each time it fires.
Yeah.
So it waits until people are in a perfect line in front of it.
They built it with AI.
Mm-hmm.
It's the first AI.
Oh, what if it is the first sentient gun and it's an asshole? It turns out to be just a total asshole.
Yeah.
That's not good.
That's what it is.
But thanks everybody for coming. I appreciate it. Thanks everybody to ask questions and keep us yipper yapping. Not that we always need that. We usually find something to yipper yap about. But thanks everyone for coming. Thanks for everybody who supports the channel. Once we sign off here, I'll do the knife drawing for the night. So with that being said, thanks everybody for coming. We'll see you again tomorrow. Until then, remember, always carry and stay safe until I see you again.